class, just giving a test here, making sure everything is ready to go here. Let me know if there are any problems with audio or anything like that. While I'm doing the test, there could be a little bit of an echo here, just kind of seeing where things are at. Okay, we're going to get started here in just a second, so just hold on here. Hi, how's everybody doing today? Today we are doing the Ledger Lines Part 2 lesson that we were supposed to do last night. I had a little trouble with my computer, so I wasn't able to do it last night, but I wanted to fit it in today so we can have our normal discussion tomorrow night, Sunday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I wanted to fit this in here, and also it'll help me edit this video together since I only have a certain amount of time to do that to meet my release schedule. So here we are today. So this is part 2. If you haven't checked out the part 1 live stream of this, it's the last live stream we did last Friday. Not yesterday, but a week ago. So look for that. If you want to learn about that, if you want to hold on to learn the first part, that's fine with me because I will be putting out a edited version of both of these together. You know, cut out all the hums and the ahs and things that take up space, and really have a nice concise lesson. And I also put up like little graphics and things like that to help your learning, so you can look out for that as well. But we're gonna get started here. So hello. First, I want to say hello to Avi. Avi, welcome back. I'm glad YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you since the last time we talked. And if at any time during the lesson, by the way, I want to tell everybody, maybe at any time during the lesson you like the lesson or you learned something from the lesson, you want to leave a like because that lets other people know that they can learn from this lesson as well. So let's get started here. So remember that ledger lines are all about reading notes off of the staff when notes are really high up or really low on the staff. So once we hit E here, we're going to continue to go up. And then, you know, as you see, you get up off the staff, then you have to add these ledger lines to tell where you are. So in the part 1 of this lesson that we did, we talked about how to skip notes to figure out what note that is. So if you remember from part 1 that this note here, what you want to do is find the closest note you do know. That's probably F right here. So here's F. And then we're going to skip up twice. So F, you skip a note up to A, and then you skip a note up to C right here. So that top note is C. And to practice for this, you want to start at, you know, both the bottom line and bottom space for each clef. So bottom line is treble clef. You're probably starting from E and then skipping up E, G, B, D, F, A, C, E, G. As you can tell, I'm pretty good at it because I've done it a lot. What that will do is that will get you used to the pattern of skipping. So you'll be able to skip up the notes really fast. So highly suggest you do that. And then also going down the other way from the top line and then top space, skipping down as well. Okay, so here we go. So here's part 2 of the lesson, really. And it's all about intervals. We talked about, I had a lesson quite a while ago last summer about how to read music faster using intervals. Remember, interval is the distance between 2 notes. So even by skipping, right, C, E, G, B, these are all intervals because they're all a set space away from each other. They happen to be a third. So when counting intervals, you always want to count the beginning note, the notes in between, and the end note. So if you have a note and the very next note from C to D, that would be 1, 2. That's a second. And recognizing a second on paper would look something like this. So there you go. There's a second. We have E and F right here. Now, you know, it's pretty easy to tell how far away they are. So when you start moving them further and further away, you know, you have a third. A third looks like a stacked snowman. Also in the other lesson, I'll leave it in the description of the Read Music Faster with Intervals lesson. We also talk about, you know, how to identify these by sight. So third always looks like a stacked snowman. Fourth looks like that, where you have a space in between. You know, first one starts on a space, next one's a line, and things like that. I also give you some other helpful hints in there as well. Now, the intervals you can use basically to tell how far away the upper note is without having to skip. It gives it some. It's like a little shortcut to this. So here's what I mean by that. So say we have Say we have this note right here. Let me see where that puts it. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so that note right there, right? We need to figure out what note that is. Well, instead of like, all right, I'm going to count from the bottom space E and then skip up twice. That works fine. You know that that's a B now. But what you can do is if you're in a hurry and you have a note like maybe below it, like the F there, the top line, instead of the space, and you may be saying, well, that's definitely not a skip like we're used to doing. That's what we call a fourth. It's 4 notes up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you can identify intervals by sight, we also have an interval practice lesson I'll leave in the description as well. But by being able to identify intervals by sight is very, very important, because whether it's on the staff down here or off the staff, you can use that information to read the notes faster, like right here, A and D, pretty easy. But it's just as useful when we start getting up here, like what two notes are those? Well, to find the bottom note, which is a ledger line, you find F, the top line, and then you can skip doing that. But instead of skipping again, like going through the skipping process, it takes too long. Just know that if that's a fourth, that the top one's 4 notes away, automatically making it D. So it really gives your brain more information to go by rather than skip, especially counting individual notes takes a long time. But even skipping sometimes can take a lot of time, especially if you have 2 notes at once like this, where you have one on a line and one on a space. And it would take too long to, in my opinion, especially if you're sight reading, to read the first one and then go through reading the second one. Just read the first one, that's A, and know that that's a fourth apart. If because all fourths look the same, and all fifths look the same. Like a fifth, right away, because it's the bottom one's a space. There's a space in between that's not taken up, and then there's a top space. Same thing if it begins with a line. Same kind of thing. So those are all fifths, no matter where they fall. So if you're good at figuring out where a fifth is, and you have this top note here, which would generally be hard for a lot of us. Start on F, you skip up twice, there's C. And then instead of keep skipping to figure out what the next one is, I just know that that's 5 notes away. And I'm going to play that top note. So you can get notes a lot faster, both on the clef and off the clef in the ledger lines, by using intervals. Let's practice a few together. Now, what are these notes? You have an F here, right, on the bottom staff, assuming that you're pretty good at reading notes on the staff already. And then you have a bottom note. We need to figure out, what is that bottom note? Well, you can skip down twice because they're both spaces, and that first one's on a space. So it would make sense in this case to go F, skip down to D, and then B. We know that bottom one is B. But going by what we said before, they're a fifth apart. So if you know the first one, the next one is 5 notes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This takes time to get used to. You want to practice your intervals on a regular basis, so you do know, all the little tricks to them, and you know how to identify them by sight. What if it was like something like, let's see, something like that, I would say. How are you going to figure out what note that is? Well, if you're good at intervals, you know that this is an octave away. So you just know right away that the bottom one's F. You don't even need to think about it. Here's a little tip for you. If you ever have a note at the bottom of a clef and you have a note, way down in the ledger lines down there, most of the time, 95% of the time, it's going to be an octave. An octave, by the way, also you have to consider they don't match. So if the first note's on a line, the second one is going to be on a space. If the first one's on a space, second one's going to be on a line. So if they both match, you know right away that that can't be an octave. But just so you know, most times, especially in the bass clef down here, say they had this note. I don't even know if these are far enough away. I'll make sure once they write it there. See, so right away there's a space and there's a space. So that can't be an octave. So I think an octave would be one more down. Is that right? A, C, E. Yep, so that's an octave away. So, if I'm reading bass clef, I know the top one's A, and I'm just going to assume that's an octave. It's a pretty safe bet that that bottom one is going to be an octave away. Let's try a few more just as practice. So we have the bass clef again. We have a G, and then whatever note it's going to decide up there. let's see. So how far away are these? Well, they're both spaces, right? So it can't be an octave, like I said, since they match. So you have G with your left hand. Now you can use the skipping rule to skip up to B, to D, and then to F, and know that that's an F right there. You could also know that these notes are a seventh apart. Generally, people don't know how far sevenths are. When you're knowing intervals, I would definitely know seconds. Seconds through octaves is pretty important, but a lot of times it's hard just by sight to figure out whether it's a seventh or an octave. I guess if it's so far away and they're both spaces, it's pretty safe to assume that they're a seventh, because the seventh would have a space down here, and then you'd have a no space, and then you'd have a note on a space again. So that's true for all sevenths, except, obviously if it starts on a line, you have a line, you're skipping a line, you're skipping another line, and then you have that final line up there. So you know that those are going to be 7 notes away right there. Now, a lot of times you'll have to determine intervals, across clefs. We talked about this in part 1 of the lesson. So you just really have to understand to get this, that this note right here, let me move this up, and this note right here are the same note. So if I move up one note here, that's basically this note right here. If I move up again here, it's basically that note right there. So you have to understand that conversion in your head to get this right. So if I had like this note and then this note, well, I understand that converting this left-hand note, or this bass clef, to here is really like having this. That's a third. So you also want to practice, determining the interval between both clefs, because that's really useful as well, understanding how far away your hands are. Anything you can do when reading notes to give yourself more information about reading those notes, the better off you are for sure. So you always want to be, using the skipping method we talked about in part 1. You want to be using the interval method. Become familiar with intervals 2 through 8. This is your practice assignment, by the way, things you should be doing. And then you also want to practice finding the intervals between both of the hands. So I want to know in the comments, is there a trick that you have that you want to share with us that helped you note read? And then if you don't have one, but you have a question about the methods we talked about today, what are some of the questions you have? By leaving them in the comments, not only will it help you get the answer, it'll also help other students as well learn together, because they probably have the same question, or at least there's some questions out there. If 1,000 people see this video, chances are, if you have a question, somebody else or quite a few people also have that question. So leaving a comment, being part of the community, not only helps you, but it helps all of us as well. So you're always welcome, even if you have a comment not related to anything I asked, you're always welcome to leave that as well. So leave it in the comments. I want to know, what are your questions about this lesson? Okay, we're going to do a few examples. I'm actually going to have you think about what this answer is, and then I'll answer it. So pause the video if you need more time, but I'm going to give the answer in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. This answer, it's going to be a B up there on that ledger line, because you do know probably the top line, top space here, right? That's an E, and you know that they're a fifth apart, so you know right away that that's a B. Let's try a couple more. How about, what is that note up there? Well, if you know the bottom line here, that F, you know that that's a fifth apart as well. So using those intervals is always important. Let me try a different one that's not a fifth. Let's do one really high up, so we can determine this one. Now, this one's probably a bit higher than most notes you would ever run into, but let's figure it out anyway and figure out how to do that. Well, we do know the top line right here, right? F. And hey, take a look. They don't match. This one's on a line. There's a big gap in between here. That one's on a space. What do you want to bet that that's an octave? Well, how do we figure it out? Well, we can use the skipping method to double check. So if you know the top line E, you're going to skip to G, B, D, and finally F. It checks out. You know, you have E down here, G, B, D, and then F. So I double checked it, and it does work out. So like I said, a lot of times if you have a note and you have a note way above it and they don't match, chances are 95% of the time that it will be an octave. Can you also cover time signature? I can cover that a little bit in this lesson. That's something that I would do for another lesson, but there's a lesson I made called How Rhythm Works. Let me bring it up for you because I feel like that this lesson will really help you out with that, and it'll explain better than I can explain right now because it's a lesson, you know, that I had prepared for and, you know, put some time into constructing a very good explanation for it. So I think that that can do better than I can right now. So if you just type in How Rhythm Works, hopefully I did a good job at SEO on this video. I really can't tell you. Maybe not so much. Oh, there you go. I'm one of the first ones. I'm like the third one down. There's a picture of me, obviously. It says rhythm. I got a wrench. It says 6/8. Check that out because it's your first lesson in rhythm for beginners. It's beats, time signatures, and tempo. It's this one right there. So make sure you check that out. I think that will be perfect for what you're looking for this one. There's also, I also made an older lesson, How Rhythm Works, below it. That lesson's okay too. Like I said, I made it a while ago, so this top one's a bit better in my opinion, so I recommend you check that one out. Okay, let's see. And by the way, welcome everybody. Welcome Avi. Welcome Manoj, if I'm pronouncing that right. Get to, welcome. Thanks for all the hearts. And Betty says you're doing great. I just have to go over the videos and practice more. Yes, lots of practice. Let me give you a few videos I recommend. Like I said, once I edit this together, I'll put these in the comments, but I really want to let you know the lessons that I recommend the most out of this whole thing. So you want to look up how to read music in one easy lesson. Honestly, if you type in how to read music, it will come up, but this is me. So you want to, it has my picture, obviously. It says read music. It has an orange thumbnail with a little, you know, light bulb up top. This is a great lesson that encompasses all the things you need to read music on the staff. We have quite a few ledger line lessons, but I suggest you check that one out first. And then you want to look up how to read music. And then I think we had a practice session on that lesson. So let's check. Well, there's one on intervals. So if you want to check out how to read music notes on piano better with this interval practice session, I actually recommend you check that lesson out after another one I'm going to suggest. Here, this one, how to read music faster with this special technique. You want to read this one faster. You do this one first. Watch this one first. That's the words I'm looking for. Because this one introduces, you know, builds on reading music on the staff. We're, you know, now using intervals on the staff. So it's a good introduction to intervals on the staff. So it's the one you watched before this one. And then you want to check out that practice lesson right here, intervals, this one as well. So you want to type in how to read music in one easy lesson, and then you want to type in how to read music practice session, or also how to read music faster. But a lot of things with how to read music I will show up for, so look at that as well. So I highly recommend those lessons that I gave to completely understand what we went over in this lesson. Once you practice that, watch this lesson again, and you'll be good to go. And then, as always, as you're watching these lessons, let me know any comments or questions you have. It really helps us all learn together as a community as one. Okay, yes, I got his name right. All right, everybody, this is going to be a shorter lesson today, basically because I'm doing this as a makeup lesson and I do have to get out teaching. So any last minute comments or questions you have, I'd love to hear. If there's anything you're struggling with, let me know and I can either explain it real quick or send you over to the appropriate video. So remember, if at any time you felt like you learned something from this lesson, leave a thumbs up. It really helps other people know that they can learn from this lesson as well. We're all a really big community here. That's one of the coolest things about working on YouTube, is that over time, it takes a couple of years, but you start to build a community of faces and names that you recognize, and even new people. And it's really cool to see other people, other students I have helping each other in the comments. It's also cool that I can help you in the comments. And it's really awesome having this live stream where we can have this discussion together, where I can teach, put out a lesson, but you guys can also give me feedback on the questions you have. I think it's really, really terrific and a really cool part of my life, really. It sounds kind of lame, but it's really, I don't know, it's really rewarding because I know a lot of people are getting something out of this, and it really makes it all the worthwhile. If after this lesson you want to learn more about piano music, obviously you can browse around on the YouTube channel. But if you're looking to take things a step further, or you're looking to get, more than you can with YouTube, just videos, you want to check out my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. And you can find that by typing it in. And it will take you to my website, which looks really fancy. So anyway, I have a bunch of music courses I made here, over 20 courses. They'll help you learn piano, music theory, improvisation, rhythm, all sorts of things. And actually, whether you've seen all the YouTube videos or not is fine, because I have courses for the very beginner. And you still should take those courses if you're not 100% on the easy stuff, because they include not only videos. A lot of the videos are exclusive. Sometimes I'll put in a couple of YouTube videos that reinforce the topic, but a lot of these are exclusive videos that you can't find anywhere. So you'll have the videos, you also have printable sheet music assignments, activities, online tools and things like that to enhance your learning. And like I said, you can learn a lot more topics than what we cover on the YouTube channel. So pianolessonsontheweb.com. Once we're done with the stream here, head over there and let me type that in the comments for you. Let me see if I can answer anybody's question here. We have Shabel. I always lost tempo. Can you give me some tips on the same tempo when playing? Yes, I can. Just give me a second. Let me type in this web address I have here for everybody. And this is, of course, completely optional because the website, if you want to learn for free and you want to learn the basics, you can stick around the YouTube channel. I'm still going to put out these lessons, still going to do these live streams. So if you don't have the money, or you're just trying to get your feet wet with learning piano first, you're always welcome to do that. And then Shabel says, I always lost the tempo. So what I recommend you buy, if I have it next to me, I don't think I do, but I highly recommend you get what's called a metronome. You can even get a metronome online. They actually have, Google has one. If you type in metronome, you can adjust your tempo. So just whatever tempo you're going. If you're first learning a song, you probably want to go at about 80 to 90. Excuse me. You click play, and then it'll click it out. You can't hear it right now since I don't have the sound hooked up to my tablet. But you go there. You can also, there's also metronomeonline.com. There could be some with a few more, features. I've tried this one. I don't really recommend that one as much. The one on Google's okay. So you beats per measure, and then you click start. So you can find a lot of these online. And what you want to do is you want to sync up your beats. So if you're playing in 4/4, you want to have every beat 1, 2, 3, 4 sync up with the metronome. I have a lesson on this actually. Let me point it to you. Since I don't have the sound hooked up, I want you. Let's see, how to play with the metronome. And then I'm just going to type in lessons on the web, since I think that will help me find it. Oh, it's a live stream we did. We did it about a year ago. And it's how to play with the metronome. And that's the one you want. So if you type in how to play the metronome, or with the metronome, and then you just type in lessons on the web, it'll come up here. You can see my face right there. And take a look at that lesson. That'll give you some other tips, because that's one, like I said, when I design these lessons, I design it in a way to best represent it. So like if I explain to you in the live stream, it might not do it as much justice if I point you to a video, because those are the ones that are well planned out. So check that out. I think that lesson would help you out a lot. And you want to practice with the metronome for a while. Now, you don't want to become so dependent on the metronome that you can't play without it or keep time without it, but it's a really good tool, especially at first, with keeping your steady tempo. All right, everybody, so I do have to head out of here. I have more lessons to teach today since this isn't a usual time for the live stream. Remember, if you like the stream, if you learned something, leave a like because it really helps other people know as well. I want to thank you for coming out today and being a part of our great community, and I look forward to seeing you in the next live stream or the next video. We're going to have another live stream tomorrow night at around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so don't miss out. Check it out, and I'll see you there. So everybody have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Manoj, to answer your question really quick, generally for triads in root position, you want to use 1-3-5. I think that's true for pretty much all of the triads in root position. In first inversion, you generally want to use fingers 1-2-5. That's the same thing with minor too. Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm correct on this. With third inversion chords, you want to use 1-3-5. And this is all for right hand. With left hand, it's 5-3-1 root position, pretty easy. 5-3-1 first inversion. 5-2-1 second inversion. And generally that's true for a lot of the keys. So that's generally the rules for them. Some of them I think fall out of that. I'll have to make a specific lesson on that. But that's generally where I would lead you at this time. All right, everybody, I got to get going. But if you have any questions, I will be posting the recording to this later, either later today or early tomorrow. So leave your questions there, and I'll answer them at a later time. So thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.